week, the Royal Commission into Aged Care Quality and Safety started its public hearings in Adelaide. Already it's heard allegations of shocking neglect, cases that have required news organisations to warn their audiences that just listening to their details might cause distress. Our next guest is a journalist and author whose new book, Fridays with My Folks, considers aged care from a perspective many of us are likely to share one day, that of the concerned loved one of a client navigating Australia's aged care system. Amal Arwood, thank you for joining Afternoons.
Thank you for having me.
Now, your father's diagnosis of kidney failure was the starting point for your look inside the system that older Australians deal with as they age. And reading your book, I was really struck by your observations that many people are surprised by the initial incident, whether it's a medical diagnosis or an accident, that sees them and their loved ones navigating Australia's aged care infrastructure.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have this demographic bulge. We have this ageing population in the millions, and we do seem to be taken by surprise, almost like, I think it's because of the perception of ageing. It's something people don't want to talk about. They don't want to think about. It's not sexy. It's not exciting. We have this youth-obsessed culture. And it sounds very flat and, oh, well, that's no big deal. But actually, that really infiltrates society. It affects how we actually communicate and talk about ageing. And as a result, it also means that we don't really want to think about what happens to people when they are ageing and they're unwell and they're being relegated to nursing homes and aged care facilities.
Well, let's talk for a moment about what does happen. Some people experience a bit of a loss of their former life in terms of their freedom of movement and choice. And does that affect older Australians' health and their mental well-being?
Absolutely. There's research that shows that loneliness actually kills. And so it's also about a loss of purpose. For some people, it's a loss of dignity, feeling a bit like their pride is taking a bit of a whack because they're not perceived as being adults anymore. They're treated like children, and yet they're not. They've had a lifetime of experiences behind them. And this is what's happening in sort of aged care facilities. The big issue is that it's not simply that these people are sort of being forgotten, they're being mistreated, but also aged care workers are not necessarily.
Now, a former aged care worker told you how stretched she felt in her job and that she could feel her clients' cravings for human company. She felt lucky if she could make them a cup of tea. What does that say about the state of our system?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it just shows you that people are craving a sense of purpose and connection, that we're forgetting this human side to people, that you don't stop wanting things, desiring things, and you do have to query what's the effect on your mental health if you are being sort of relegated to the crazy old person, because dementia rates obviously are quite high. It's frightening. People talked about wanting to euthanize themselves if they ever got to the stage of potentially getting dementia. So it's absolutely terrifying how much we fear old age and how much we look down on it.
Something else the Royal Commission will be looking at is the issue of elder abuse, and you did speak to some former aged care workers who admitted that elder abuse, instances of it, do happen, and they gave you some reasons why it happens.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, the issue with that obviously is there's a wide range of experiences, and there are absolutely aged care workers who do a fantastic job under a lot of pressure. The issue is that a lot of them are underskilled, undertrained. They're not getting the adequate training. They're doing a 6-week course. They're not being given the right equipment, the right resources to actually deal with their patients. And, you know, on top of that, they're being paid very, very poorly. So can you imagine the mental health strain on the aged care worker as well? And you might be dealing with a volatile older person who has dementia and needs a high level of care you're not equipped to provide. So there are just so many sides to this that have to be considered.
Amal Arwood, terrific to talk to you this afternoon. Thank you for sharing your inside look.